was making bad bets, but when the odds look good, you gotta play the hand you see.
In a dentist's office in Morocco, I'm fighting sleep and worry. My wife, Britt, is in with a dentist. We're preparing to early terminate from the Peace Corps, meaning we're quitting and getting the hell out of Dodge. After exit interviews, drawn blood and stool samples, closing bank accounts and finishing paperwork, all that's left is this mandatory dental checkup. Britt's had a hard year, and now, from the sound of it, she's getting tortured. 8 years prior, I was 21, sitting in the federal building in downtown Dallas, waiting on Britt during her initial Peace Corps interview. I first met her as a sophomore at TCU. Instant messenger screen names were still a thing. Britt's was TCU Underdog. That's eternally Britt to me, the pint-sized, big-hearted underdog with searching blue eyes, first in her family to attend college and paying her own way, full of wanderlust, deep compassion, and curiosity for how the rest of the world lived. I admired her so much, I ached. My biggest fear is that I'm not a person of substance. If you love sitcoms and snack cakes like I do, how could you possibly be a serious person? I figure the next best thing is to fall in love with one. Britt's family raised hell about their 20-year-old living alone on another continent. It broke her heart, but she decided she couldn't go. That's where I came in. All the years we dated, she said, I still want to join the Peace Corps. And later, we have to be married for at least 1 year before we can join the Peace Corps together. Joining the Peace Corps was great for somebody like Britt, but it seemed a little flashy for me. Generally, I'd rather be invisible than flashy. At 16, working at Blockbuster, a coworker nicknamed me Mute Boy. Mute Boy's dreams and ambitions were pretty flimsy. And eventually, I decided to adopt Britt's, but with my own little twist. I joined the Peace Corps for love, but also for suffering. I liked the idea of being broken down and built up again. I wanted boot camp for hippies. I wanted eat, pray, love, but maybe more like sweat, cry, vomit in a bucket. So after personal essays, background checks, and about 1,000 immunizations, we quit our jobs, put everything into storage, and boarded a one-way flight with 93 other volunteers from JFK to Casablanca. And all the while I was thinking, soon I'll be a better person. After 3 months of language classes, we arrived in our final site, a town in the mountain foothills an hour south of Marrakesh. Our work assignment at the town's youth center was on hold while the place was closed for repairs. It's typical for volunteers to have a long settling in period of integration, learning your community, getting people used to seeing your American faces around town every day. But for us, integration seemed to stretch out endlessly. When the center stayed closed for a month, Britt found us a place to start teaching English. By the 3rd, 4th, 5th months of waiting, she started working with a women's couscous co-op and an artisan who sold rugs. Britt was the focal point of every friendship that got us into Moroccan kitchens and living rooms, invited to weddings and festivals and hiking trips. I was fine filling the void in our days with novels and Netflix. But Britt desperately looked for work that would give us meaning. Britt also suffered more. Bouts of food poisoning and homesickness were minor compared to the street harassment that made her afraid to leave our house. Her hair was falling out. She was grinding her teeth. One evening in the summer, we learned that a fellow volunteer was abruptly terminating and heading back to the U.S. "What do you think of that?" I asked. And Britt said, "I wish it was us." Back in the dentist's waiting room, Britt wakes me. Miraculously, she's fine. I climb into the chair in a fog, wishing we could skip this formality. I'm 28 and I've never had a cavity. The Moroccan dentist has a European accent sprinkled with Arabic. Salam, Peter, let's take a look, okay? His hair is long and slicked back, and he wears a chunky gold watch. He looks like he's going clubbing straight after this. Barely a minute into the exam, he announces, I have a cavity. Are you sure? He hasn't even taken x-rays. He angles a mirror over my head. There. A little black spot on one of my upper molars. I'm in shock. Yes, sugar is a huge part of Moroccan culture. You don't bring a bottle of wine to dinner, you bring a 2-pound loaf of white sugar. And yes, I've had a lifetime's worth of Coca-Cola and syrupy mint tea this year, but I also haven't felt any pain. And shouldn't there have been a sign? I'm trying to reconcile this new reality when I hear, uh-oh, Peter. He can see another cavity, and another, and another. Britt and I developed a ritual. Every day we made a list of reasons to go and reasons to stay. Once a week, we'd walk up a mountain road to a spot overlooking our town where we sat under pine trees and talked our problem to death. In December, I was walking alone from the market when a bell of sadness and clarity rang in my head. Struggling to make it in Morocco was not fundamentally changing who I was, but it was draining Britt of all her vitality and optimism. The next day, we went up the mountain, and I held my breath for a very long time. Britt, I said, we can't stay. Her blue eyes filled with tears. But what if we regret it? If we stay and it keeps taking this toll on you, I'll regret it so much more. I put my arms around her. We sat against the fallen log until she was out of tears. The dentist lets me spit. I'm reeling and trying to catch my breath when he says, Peter, we run out of time. Come back tomorrow. I shake my head. Tomorrow, we'll be on a plane back to Texas. Okay, we go quick, but no more Novocaine, okay? I don't say okay. I say, huh? Imagine having a panic attack with a stranger's hands in your mouth. I taste latex. The dentist digs a spiked instrument into my tooth. Something cracks like a piece of hard candy. Worse than the stabbing pain and the icy ooze of the fillings is the weight of hands and tools scraping inside me. When I look down, the bib on my chest has a dozen small wounds of blood. Later, Britt says she started reading The Little Prince when I went in and finished before I got out. A quick read, but still. Our Moroccan friends threw us one last feast. Crammed around big round tables with plates of couscous and mint tea, we sang in Arabic, but also in the universal language of Adele. And we drummed with spoons on empty glass Coke bottles. In her shaky, choked-up Arabic, Britt told our friends that her heart would always be close to theirs, only she mispronounced the word for heart, instead saying, my dog will always be close to your dog. We all laughed so hard, and we all loved her so much. When I finally emerge from the dentist chair, Britt's asleep. A dull pain resides in my mouth, and I feel profoundly shaken. At last, I'm suffering, but I don't feel solid and serious. I feel stupid and callow for the warped logic that the Peace Corps would torture me into becoming someone I admired, for inventing this get-rich-quick scheme for character and depth. On the street, Britt slips her hand in mine, and we slowly walk back to our hotel. Holding hands was a habit we'd quickly broken in Morocco because of the unwanted attention it might bring. But it's dark, and we're alone. I'm so grateful for that hand. And if in that moment I feel like a person of substance, it isn't from the hollowed out ache in my head where the holes have been drilled. It's from Britt holding on to me, giving me some of her weight and warmth, keeping me tethered to the ground.